other opposition parties, for example, the Congress as well, which is in opposition in Odisha. So these two parties have been really raising this issue and putting the government on the mat over this horrific incident that's emerged from Balasore in Odisha, and now, of course, protests in the state capital of Bhubaneswar, where these protests have broken out. Dramatic visuals there of BJD, workers. You can see those symbols, the Shankh symbol, which is the symbol of the BJD amongst those protesters, and you can see those water cannons also now in these pictures. So the protests, really taking place over this really, really shocking case, the unfortunate death of a young woman over, harassment at the hands of, her superiors, and then, of course, the complaints being ignored, and later the victim being victimized. So that's what you see. Also, the protests over that on your screens, the water cannons that have been fired on the protesters from the Biju Janata Dal, led by Naveen Patnaik. The Congress also has been protesting in Odisha, but of course, these are protests that are now really drawing national attention. And, Naveen Patnaik has been also talking about this on social media as well. He's been posting on it on social media, and and expressing concern over what's been happening in Odisha. In fact, he's if I can also read from his post on X, he said, I'm deeply saddened and heartbroken to learn about the demise of the student who was undergoing treatment at AIIMS, and then, of course, talking about the family. And it's even more disturbing to think how a failed system can take someone's life, and that's really the focus. This lady had complained that that she was harassed, and then but instead she did not get support. She said it. Naveen Patnaik, in fact, says the result of a system that remains silent instead of helping, struggling for justice. The girl ultimately closed her eyes. So now, of course, the political parties, especially the opposition, the Biju Janata Dal and the Congress party, are out on the streets. This has become the main political headline out of Odisha over the last few days. And, to seek justice, of course, this woman had reached out to the higher education minister. She also met an MP. This is all Naveen Patnaik, on post. And, of course, he's asking for courage for the family members. But you can see these dramatic visuals of water cannons being fired at the protesters as these protests break out in Odisha's capital of Bhubaneswar. The opposition parties really questioning the government. The government, of course, also has been supportive towards the family, in terms of ministers reaching out. Not just the government and the opposition, but even the President of India. So obviously, everybody's reached out. This is a horrific case, and Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition, also has spoken to the family today. But the opposition now really making it the main issue to dominate, conversation, to dominate discourse politically in the state. And this is something that you see playing out on the streets of Odisha's capital, Bhubaneswar, where protests are taking place. Water cannons are being used. Dramatic visuals really coming in from Odisha. NDTV has been, of course, tracking the entire story, all the details, all the developments that have come in right from the day the story was reported. And of course,
right, Saurabh, you spoke about the family. Of course, the father raised a lot of questions as well, and asking as to why was she called alone to the principal's office, and why is it that she took this step when she just came right out of that principal's room? Something must have happened inside. Those are the questions that was raised by the father of the girl who died because of inaction that was taken by the authorities. Take us to the demands that are being made by these protesters. They're really calling for that Balasore Bandh till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They're also demanding the resignation not just of the education minister but also the chief minister. Take us to the other demands that the protesters are making.
Well, there are a lot of demands, but I think the primary focus and the primary demand remains justice for this young woman. But beyond that, there are political demands as well, like you said, because this has become the most important political issue and matter of political discourse in Odisha. Odisha's state capital, Bhubaneswar, has been seeing protests on this issue. Those protests continuing. You can see those dramatic visuals on our screen. We've been tracking this entire story from the beginning. And of course, NDTV has been reporting on it from the beginning. And this is something that's really a case of a systemic failure. This lady reached out to everyone she could, and these were people in positions of power. That's what Naveen Patnaik has said in his post on social media platform X. But the support she expected, the justice she expected did not come through. In fact, she felt victimized, and that's something that perhaps has led to now this incident spilling onto the streets, the anger over this incident spilling onto the streets. These are protests by opposition parties. There have been protests otherwise as well. This is really a case that's dominated headlines in Odisha and nationally as well. But it's a shocking case of perhaps, not listening to a complaint, not paying heed to a complaint, apathy at every level that's led to this. And that's something that is perhaps also what led to this unfortunate self-immolation when the victim
of course,
found herself.
we're seeing people come out in large numbers in order to join in that protest. Of course, you mentioned that what Naveen Patnaik went on to say. He really said that, she showed a lot of courage by approaching several authorities, not just the college authorities, but including the Chief Minister's office, Union Minister as well. She had written to the college principal. Take us through, the doors that she knocked on before she finally took that drastic step.
Practically every door she could knock on. It's difficult for somebody to, reach out. It often becomes difficult to have conversations about these issues. But in this case, the young woman reached out to everyone she could for a solution, expecting justice, expecting that her complaints would be addressed and heard. What has happened is that either because of some lacuna in the system, her complaints have not reached these people, even though she reached out. And one presumes that that's the case, because if indeed these complaints were reaching the right people, the people she reached out to, then there would have been action. But again, this is dramatic visuals from Odisha, where protests have broken out on this issue, led by the opposition BJD, the Biju Janata Dal.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, for getting us those details. We will keep coming back to you for more on that. Moving on is Karnataka versus Andhra Pradesh, and this is in regard to, the air battle. The Karnataka buckles while Andhra Pradesh baits. Now, this is Karnataka government cancelling the land accusation, while Nara Lokesh there inviting aerospace industry to Andhra Pradesh, saying, we have better ideas, while Siddaramaia's government has taken a U-turn. In fact, it's a big win for farmers and a setback for the government's plan to set up that aerospace park in Bengaluru. The Chief Minister announced that complete withdrawal is now going to be taking place, and this is because of the accusation of that fertile land, was a demand of the farmers, and this is something they'd been demanding, and protests were taking place over the last 3.5 years. The decision was taken following that continuous protest from farmer groups, but there's a twist. Nara Lokesh has offered aerospace industry to come to Andhra Pradesh. Listen in to Siddaramaiah.
No, it's just not the land. There are so many other factors for anybody to come and invest in a particular area. And Bangalore has many plus points apart from the land. Okay, if Devanalli we are not able to give the land, so somewhere else we give. So we will definitely not let the other investors to go somewhere like Andhra Pradesh or Tamil Nadu or Maharashtra, something like that. But we will definitely convince them and invest in Karnataka.
My colleague Deepak joining us to get us the very latest on this. Deepak, it's been a back and forth and 3.5 years of intense protests by farmers, a move that is being called significant and historic by Siddaramaiah himself. We just heard G. Parmeshwar, the Home Minister, also speaking there of Karnataka. But this doesn't include those who perhaps are willing to give up on their land, and they will be compensated way above the guidance value. That is the promise that's being made by the government.
Well, at this point in time, it's now looks like an all-out discussion that's going on over this land acquisition and the industrial development there. After the Karnataka Chief Minister said that the government will not acquire this land, only those who voluntarily want to give it can actually give that land for the industrial development. Mr. Nara Lokesh went on to make an interesting statement that, you can come to Andhra Pradesh, you will not face any of these problems. Now, it's the Karnataka Minister who's coming in the defense of his government. He says that, investing in Bengaluru. Karnataka is just not about land. It is about a whole lot of other factors that are involved. And if not, definitely Karnataka government will plan to give land to other locations and make sure that the investment stays in Karnataka and does not move to any other neighboring state.
Right, Deepak, of course, this is some sort of a U-turn which is being called historic by the Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, saying that this is a decision that was taken following those protests by the farmers that continued for 3.5 years. And with that, we're slipping in a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. Please stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's leading AI smartphone brand.
But I'd like to start this off by asking you, Vishnu, what you think about the whole question of India not having stealth fighters right now.
It's a huge
Everyone's
problem.
trying to sell them to us as well.
It's a huge problem, Shiv. Let's face it, in as much as we love the Rafale aircraft and the Indian Air Force is completely vouching for it, perhaps they'd like more than 100 more. The Indian Navy has just gotten into an order for 26 Rafale M aircraft. There is a generation gap between the Rafale and the stealth. There is a good reason why a stealth platform is called a 5th generation aircraft and a Rafale is a 4th or 4.5 generation aircraft, and that is low observability. So in as much as the Rafale has brilliant sensors, both in terms of its radar, its defensive suite, its electronic warfare suite, its towed array decoy system, it is not typically a low observability platform in quite the same manner in which a stealth aircraft is. Its design form is different. And therefore, if Pakistan does have low observable aircraft, which would be the J-35, in fact, the first ones might even start entering service or coming into the PAF ahead of entering service at some time this year, then India is in trouble.
So
Why?
this year? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first could actually start coming in this year. They're really pushing for it. And they've gotten apparently into some agreement with the Chinese to ensure that the funding is done on very loose and terms favorable to Pakistan, as has been in the case in the past. If Pakistan starts acquiring low platforms which are low observable, in other words, stealth platforms, then that's an additional headache for the Indian Air Force, because tracking stealth aircraft requires a certain specialization. It's much more difficult. The time that you have to actually engage a potential stealth target is reduced greatly, and therefore, it's a problem.
Some say sport is a matter of life and death. The truth is, it is far more serious than that. Sport is about ecstasy and agony, about pain and suffering, about joy and much more. Some say there's no one better to tell these stories. So here I am. Join me, Boria Majumdar, on India's #1 news network.
कोई जरूरत तो उसको इंटरव्यू देने की।
गायकवाड़ साहब, ऐसे मत कीजिए।
लोग देख रहे तो कर रहा है, लोग देख रहे तो कर रहा है।
किसने हक दिया आपको हाथ उठाने का?
अगर फिर से कोई ऐसी गलती करेगा तो मैं छोड़ूंगा नहीं।
सर, आप लाइव हैं।
Well, Bangladesh to demolish the ancestral home of Satyajit Ray, and India there offering to help restore the house, which is said to be in despair. Earlier, a mob had vandalized Rabindranath Tagore's home in Bangladesh. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee urging the government to intervene. And the air battle, as far as Karnataka is concerned, Karnataka backs out and Andhra Pradesh steps in. A big win as far as this is in regard to that air battle, with the options being given in regard to the aerospace industry. Nara Lokesh, they're saying Andhra Pradesh has better ideas. Big win for farmers and setback for Karnataka government. This is the water war. Let's talk about Telangana and Andhra Pradesh's water war. Big meeting coming up in the national capital with the chief ministers of both the states meeting with C.R. Patil. And Fauja Singh, who died at the age of 114 due to a hit-and-run case, now the person behind the wheels of that Fortuner has been arrested, an NRI from Canada.
Presented by Canara Bank. Together we can.
Let's get you the latest from the national capital. And now 11 schools have gotten threats over the last 3 days, starting on Monday. Now today itself, 6 schools have received bomb threat emails. Delhi authorities have reported that bomb threat emails have been circulated. They were received by 6 schools this morning, marking the 3rd consecutive day of such incidents. Starting with the St. Thomas School, this is in the Dwarka area, of the Vasant Valley School in Vasant Kunj, as well as Paschim Bihar area. There was a school that also received an email. This was a bomb threat email. In total, 11 schools over the last 3 days, over Monday to Wednesday, have received multiple threats. Now, the Bombay, this is in regard to the officials, the bomb threat received by email at these various locations. On Monday itself, there was a school in Dwarka that received that email. This really comes on the heels of the St. Stephen's College receiving a bomb threat email as well. We have Tanushka, my colleague, joining us. Tanushka, are we seeing a pattern here? Because it's the area of Dwarka that seems to be targeted, first on Monday and now again on Wednesday, along with other schools from different areas and different parts of Delhi.
Right, Divya, it's not just Dwarka, but many of these schools in central Delhi as well. In Vasant Kunj, the Vasant Valley School, Sardar Patel School, a very well-known school in Delhi, in Lodhi Estate area, has also received these bomb threats. And a total of 10 schools in the last 3 days have received such bomb threats, is what we understand from the Delhi police as of this moment. One college, that is St. Stephen's College, has also received this bomb threat. We do understand that other schools in similar areas such as that of central Delhi have received these bomb threats. However, as of this point, we do understand that the schools, as a precautionary measure, have sent back their students back to their homes, and the schools have sent out their own individual letters to the parents as well. For instance, Sardar Patel School in this email has written to the parents that they are conducting, and that a bomb disposal squad is within their premises conducting a sanitization of the premise, and to check just to be sure for any sort of devices within the premises. So at this point, the Delhi police is of course currently still working to figure out that where are these emails sent from. We have seen these instances earlier as well. We've reported on them too, and usually in the past instances it has turned out to be that this is just mere pranks that are being taken on, sometimes by students, sometimes by some notorious elements, just to create panic and chaos.
A lot of panic that is being created, and action that's being taken along with the bomb squad, the dog squad, as well as other teams there inspecting the area. Thank you so much, Tanushka, for getting us those details. Now let's get you the latest in the death of Fauja Singh, the 114-year-old iconic runner who died on Monday after he was hit by a Fortuner car while he was out on his morning walk. Now the person driving that vehicle, this was a person, NRI from Canada, who was responsible for the death of Fauja Singh, has been arrested due to the CCTV footage that was received. Let's take a look as to the latest CCTV footage that's coming about. But before that, let's listen into what the police had to say.
हमारे ब्रिटिश मैराथन रनर थे, इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे उनका नाम था, जिन्होंने 114 साल की एज तक भी अपनी जो रनिंग जारी रखी थी और विश्व में उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे कीर्तिमान स्थापित किए थे। और सरदार फौजा सिंह की 14 जुलाई को अनफॉर्चुनेटली जब वो अपने लंच करके अपने नेटिव गांव ब्यास है उनका थाना आदमपुर में है, और उनका जो हाउस है वो जलंधर पठानकोट रोड के 100 मीटर के करीब आउटस्कर्ट्स पे है। तो जब वो सैर करने के लिए आफ्टर लंच वो जाते हैं तो एक अननोन व्हीकल है उनको हिट कर देता। तो मौका के जो आई विटनेस थे उनके जो हमने इन्वेस्टिगेशन में उनको शामिल किया, उन्होंने बताया कि कोई फॉर्च्यूनर गाड़ी या कोई इनोवा गाड़ी इस टाइप की कोई एसयूवी गाड़ी थी जिसके साथ हिट होके इनके जो इंजर्ड हुए हैं और डेथ हुई है। तो हम मौका पर गए, मौका के हमने इंस्पेक्ट किया, हमने अपनी इसको केस को ट्रेस करने के लिए हमारे एसपी डिटेक्टिव सरबजीत राय, एसपी हमारे हेडक्वार्टर परमिंदर सिंह हीर, डीएसपी आदमपुर मिस्टर कुलवंत सिंह और डीएसपी डिटेक्टिव इंद्रजीत सैनी और पुष्प बाली और एसएचओ आदमपुर हरदेवप्रीत, इनकी टीम्स गठित की थी। और जो इंस्पेक्शन सीन ऑफ क्राइम की तो हमें वहाँ से गाड़ी के कुछ पार्ट्स मिले थे। जो लेफ़्ट साइड की हेडलाइट थी और थोड़ा बम्पर का, वो जो फ्रैगमेंट्स वहाँ से हमने डिटेक्ट किए, उनको फिज़िकल एविडेंस के तौर पे हमने पुलिस कस्टडी में लिया। और हमने जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन के तहत जो एजेंसीज़ हैं टोयोटा की, उनके पास गए और उसको मैच करवाया। उनके जो एक्सपर्ट्स थे उन्होंने बताया कि ये कोई 2009 या 10 या 2011 मॉडल की कोई गाड़ी, फॉर्च्यूनर गाड़ी के पार्ट हो सकते हैं। तो फिर हमने सीसीटीवी जो कैमरा थे उनको हमने डिटेक्ट करने के उससे फुटेज के एनालिसिस कर रहे थे। तो एक गाड़ी हमने ऐसी देखी कि उसमें डिटेक्ट हुई जिसका वो वाला पार्ट मिसिंग था कैमरा में। जो हमने मौका पर जो पार्ट्स हमने रिकवर किए थे वो वाले पार्ट्स वहाँ पे मिसिंग थे गाड़ी के। तो वहाँ से हमने गाड़ी का नंबर आगे किसी कैमरा से नंबर निकाला और इस तरीके से हमने केस को डिटेक्ट किया। और इसमें जो अक्यूज़ड है उसका नाम अमृतपाल सिंह ढिल्लों और इसके फादर की डेथ हो चुकी है। और ये गांव दासूवाल गांव है, थाना करतारपुर में, डिस्ट्रिक्ट जलंधर में पड़ता है, वहाँ इसका गांव है। एज इसकी 26 है और ये कनाडा बेस्ड है। अभी कनाडा में वर्क परमिट पे है, वहाँ पे टूरिस्ट वीज़ा पे गया था क्योंकि इसकी सिस्टर्स और मदर वो दे आर सेटल्ड इन कनाडा। तो वहाँ ये अभी 23 जून को इंडिया में वापस आया था। और
Gurpreet joining us to get us the very latest. Gurpreet, timely intervention there, and at breakneck speed, they managed to crack this case. But given the fact that he was NRI, he could have easily escaped to Canada, and one wouldn't have known the man who was responsible for the death of the legendary runner.
Yes, of course. That was one of the core reasons why the police had initiated multiple level investigation. We have seen not only highway CCTV camera were being checked by police, but they were also checking all the camera at the various roads, and specifically they have got a footage from the various toll plazas so that they will be able to get any lead from these camera CCTV footage. But we have learned the main evidence in this case, which we have seen during the course of investigation, they were able to get broken part of that Toyota Fortuner, and that was matched through the company, and after that they were able to trace the registration number of vehicle, and finally they are able to find out the owner of this vehicle. What we have learned, the main question which they are probing at this point of time, and they are also trying to get police remand of this accused who has been arrested by the Punjab police in hit and run case. Why he left Fauja Singh injured when he hit Fauja Singh at a very high speed? Why didn't he take him to the hospital for providing first aid? Had he taken Fauja Singh to hospital, life could have been saved. So all these angles are being probed by Punjab police so that they will be able to carry forward investigation. But yes, it was a tedious job for Punjab police because they were not able to get the clean CCTV footage from the spot, because on the highway the cameras were not installed, but they were able to get multiple CCTV camera footage. And finally, when they had recovered some broken pieces of the part of the vehicle, that was one of the key to get success in this case, because these broken parts were being given to the company, and the company confirmed the model number, the make of the car, and after that they were able to trace the accused in this case. So we have to wait and watch how the investigation will be unfolded in the coming days. Back to studio.
Right, Gurpreet, time was of essence considering that he could have literally escaped to Canada. Take a look at the final moments before, Forja Singh, the legendary runner, was hit by that SUV being driven by the NRI from Canada. Let's just move on now to get you the very latest. This is as far as the latest in regard to the VIP Tugs. This is from the state of Madhya Pradesh. Apparently, Congress MLA's son was responsible for hitting cops who were there patrolling the area. We're talking about 2 police constables who sustained injuries while a speeding SUV allegedly driven by the son of a Congress MLA nearly rammed into them in Madhya Pradesh. Pushparaj Patel, the son of Congress MLA Sena Patel, allegedly rammed his SUV while the constables were on patrol near that bus stand, in which area is where the speeding car was coming from. There was a video that has now surfaced showing the SUV speeding directly towards the 2 constables who were standing beside that police jeep, and they managed to leap out of the way just in time to save themselves. Well, we have Anurag joining us to get us the very latest on this. Anurag, take us through, what is happening in this case? What kind of action is being taken against the MLA's son?
Yes, the vehicle rammed into a pole after the constables narrowly escaped. One constable, Rakesh Gujaria, suffered injuries and is currently being treated at the district hospital. As you said, the accused has been identified as Pushparaj Singh, son of Congress MLA Sena Patel from Jobat, based on the testimony of the injured constable. The Ali Rajpur Kotwali police have registered a case under different sections of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, including attempt to murder, and have launched a hunt for the absconding accused. The Superintendent of Police there, Rajesh Vyas, has confirmed about the FIR and stating that the accused deliberately did not stop when signaled by the patrolling constables and instead tried to run over them. A special team led by a DSP has been formed to arrest the accused, but now a political fallout has also begun. Mahesh Patel, the accused father and husband of the local MLA, called a press conference and accusing police of registering a false case under political pressure. This was a minor accident, but it's being portrayed as an attempted murder. This is what has been said by the MLA's husband. And Sena Mahesh Patel, mother of the accused, also came out to her son's defense, and she has alleged a well-planned political conspiracy, and she has also said that she will raise the matter in the assembly and threaten to escalate the issue to the chief minister.
Thank you so much, Anurag, for getting us those details. Now it is the Supreme Court sinking its teeth as far as the issue of stray dogs in the national capital is concerned. The Supreme Court, while hearing that plea alleging the harassment over the feeding community as far as the feeding of the community dogs in the NCR region is concerned, the Supreme Court there saying, why don't you feed them in your own house while leaving the lanes and the roads safe for the large-hearted people? There's also space for these animals, but no space for humans, and nobody really is stopping you from feeding them. But do so at home, because they're literally warning of the risk when it comes to morning walkers, especially those on two-wheelers and cycle riders who seem to be at a greater risk. And this really comes to the heels of that latest incident that has been reported of that college-going student while on her way to college was attacked, mauled by 4 dogs repeatedly.
With the Supreme Court observing that dog lovers ought to confine their feeding to their homes and not feed dogs in public places, I have with me 3 Chennai to get a sense of what they think about that. Thank you all very much for your time. The Supreme Court has observed that dog lovers should confine their feeding activity to your homes and not do it in public places. How would you look at that?
Thanks for the opportunity to speak about this. I think some of those who are voluntarily feeding, they are not feeding just on their street. They are doing it as a public service, going to different localities and feeding dogs. In fact, I've seen 1 or 2 volunteers who come and they feed street by street. They come at different times. So I think it's a bit unfair both to the volunteer as well as the the animals that they have to go somewhere for food. That will create a different kind of a problem. Imagine 50 dogs converging on one residence to be fed. That would create a different kind of problem. Well-fed strays are better than hungry strays. or we don't call them strays, we call them streeties, or we call them community dogs. So it's actually, when you're feeding, you're doing a service to the animals as well as to the community, because you're ensuring that they are, well fed and they are in their location.